Okay, so I came across TM actually through a client of mine. Um, and the client, we were talking about how do you chill, how do you relax, how do you deal with stress and stresses in your life. And she said that about 9 months ago, she started transcendental meditation, and it's been a life changer for her.
Right.
And, I'm on a constant learning curve, and I'm thinking, oh, this sounds good. And we all can do with a little bit more stress management and how we deal with it and how we live our lives more peacefully. So I got intrigued by it, and I looked it up on the internet. I saw some of the videos on YouTube about TM. And so that was then the point when I reached out to you. And I've been doing it since September last year, and it has been transformational for me. Absolutely.
Okay. That's great, and I'm always pleased to hear that. And it's a nice testimonial. Thank you very much for that. I did also do something called the Forum, Landmark Forum, many years ago. Many TM people who reached a certain stage of doing different TM techniques had actually moved and done the Landmark Forum. And it was started by a guy called Werner Erhard. And it used to be called S Training. But one of the things he says is that the only way the earth is going to move for you and the world is going to move for you is by taking action. The world doesn't care what you think or what your intentions are. It responds to how you act. So that's just to validate a little bit of your ethos there as well.
That is a really good question, because you always got to remember that everything has a value in life, and the value that you put on a service is reflected in kind of the quality that is perceived. So if you are to cheat, you will perceive the quality getting as very low. For example, somebody would offer you an eye operation for $49.99, you would probably go, that can't be any good. It's too cheap, right?
Yeah.
And yet all an eye operation is, it's a laser that cuts into your lens for about half a second or a second maximum, just to make a small adjustment. So it's a very small procedure, yet you will pay at least 1,000 to 1,500 pounds, 2,000 pounds per eye to get it done.
Yeah.
And so therefore your understanding then is, so if they charge that much, that must be something very, very valuable. And so if you don't have the right price for your service, you end up people thinking it's not worth paying for because it's too cheap, so therefore there's no value to it, or it's too expensive. And then they think once they've done it, well, it wasn't worth the money. So your pricing needs to be absolutely 100% right for what you offer.
Well, that's interesting, because the first person I taught here in this cottage in the Isle of Wight, which I've taught TM all over the world, and this is one of the best venues that I've ever taught it. It's quiet, it's still, it's high up on the downs. But one of the first people that came to learn TM was a Virgin Atlantic pilot, captain for Richard Branson. And as far as obviously vision is quite important for pilots. They're not allowed to have eye operations, interestingly enough, because the jury's out as to how long it lasts, etc.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do you want to expand on that a little bit more?
So my question for you would be then, do you think that the price that you are charging for, teaching TM is right at the right level? Is that the correct price, or do you think it's too low, or do you think it should be lower or higher? What do you think?
I think it's always been too low. I think when the amazing thing about TM is that it's most scientifically researched, and some of the latest studies show that it adds 12 years to your life.
Wow.
If you do it regularly.
So,
one of my friends, another TM teacher, he said that if a chemist said that to him, if I took these tablets they're totally no side effects, but add 12 years to your life, you'd probably sell your house and give him 50 grand of the equity. You know,
Yeah.
but you know, that's a little bit of a car dealer's way of, of explaining it.
Yeah.
But yes, in a more dignified way of explaining it would be that it is priceless. It's
Hmm.
absolutely priceless, because it's nothing but yourself,
Yeah.
but more of yourself. There's more of yourself becomes available. And so very, very early on, in the early days of teaching, of bringing transcendental meditation to the West, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who's the founder of the TM organization, um, he was at school. He found his master.
Hmm.
In India, they're always looking for their master. They're very spiritual people. And he found his master. He was lit up by headlights of a car, and he knew, oh, this is the one. And he wanted to go to the ashram and be with the master all the time, but the master said to him, no, finish your studies. He was studying physics, etc.
Hmm.
And science was his main interest. And what happened was that Maharishi became his private secretary.
Yeah.
And when Gurudev, which is just a title for the guru of that, the local guru, there's hundreds, thousands of Gurudevs in India, but his real title was Bhagavan Swami Brahmananda Saraswati, the Shankaracharya of Jyotirmath. The Jyotirmath is the northeastern quarter of India, most spiritual part of India.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it's a Vedic tradition that he represented. And when he was dying, he said to Maharishi, who wasn't Maharishi then, because Maharishi is a title,
Yeah.
he said, go out and give peace to worldly men. You've got all my knowledge now. Go out and give peace to worldly men. Now, he meant worldly men, right?
Mhm.
People that, like people who you see every day, captains of industry, of
Yeah.
businesses, people, the movers and the shakers of the world. He knew that if they learned, they would more likely get their staff to learn.
Yeah.
If they learn and they were highly driven, they become better, more caring husbands, more sensitive, as well
Yeah.
as being more powerful.
Yeah.
And so all that is in one package in TM. It makes you more invincible, more powerful, more integrity, more integrated, and also happier.
Okay. And,
So
and 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 has it been achieved well? Has
yes,
it been given to a worldly
it,
man?
sorry,
Has the technique been given to a worldly man that
yes, uh,
therefore changed the
yes.
world?
Yes, well, you've only got to look at all the testimonials on the TM website. If you go to uk.tm.org, you'll see lots of testimonials from people of all genres, really.
Okay.
And a lot of people just recently have come to me through a hedge fund guy called Ray Dalio, who's a billionaire financier, and he puts it all down to TM.
Yeah, I know. I
But
know Ray Dalio. He sits on I think trillion worth of funds. You know that he's working with.
yeah,
Very famous guy. Um,
yes.
so so the question is going back to how much do you think you should charge for teaching this unique and so beneficial technique to people out there? Um,
Yes.
Put it another way. The way you're charging it at the moment with your three-tier system, so you've got the same package, so the same technique has three different prices, which I personally find not a very good message. And I can understand the reasoning behind it, that you got one for lower income groups and one for the middle income groups and one for the high end groups. And so there's three different prices for three different types of people that want to learn the technique. Yet the technique is identical. There's no difference in the technique that you are teaching. So
Mm.
you're asking people to judge themselves and put themselves in a group and say, I am in the middle, I'm in the low income, I'm in the high income group. And so the challenge you're facing there is with not so much with people's honesty, but with people's perception. Now, when you go to a supermarket and you see the same product on the shelf with three different prices, which price would you go for as a natural human being?
What if it's the same product? Exactly the same product.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly
yeah,
the same product.
no brainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so most of the people might go for the lower option and don't pay you enough money. Um, and how can you stop this from happening and have more a gradual approach and say, well, the price is not three-tier, the price is one price. However, there are different payment options for people that perhaps can pay in installments if they don't have that kind of cash, or people that can pay it all at once. I,
Okay.
I think from
No,
my perspective, you're not doing yourself a favor with that,
well, that
as it is at the moment.
I think you're right, because in France it's 2,000 euros, in America it's $2,500. There is no debate,
So
no room for
why
debate,
is it so much cheaper in the UK?
because we are a registered charity.
Right,
We
and
are a registered
they're not a
educational
registered
charity.
charity in the UK, in the US and in France?
I don't think they do. It's not like that there. No, it's in England. We are a registered charity, but it might be a registered charity there as well. But if it is, then they're not really doing. They're not giving what charity should do, which is to help the people that are underprivileged as well. And
Okay.
that's why we have the lower income rates. So that's the answer to that question. It's a registered charity. So we have to find somewhere in between.
Well, you can
And
ask it. I think the question is bigger than that. I think the question is, do you want to use it as a charitable giving to humankind, or do you actually want to turn that into a business that makes money? Or do you want to do something that's half-half? So somebody needs to make a decision what this actually is. Is it spreading the word to everybody as quick as we can for the lowest rate or even for free? Or do we actually need to make a living from it and create teachers that actually have a good income from it? I think somewhere somebody needs to make that decision.
well, you know what people think, oh, it's a spiritual thing, why are you charging for it? And that's something that happens a lot. We get that a lot. People say, oh, it's a spiritual, because obviously it has a dimension that goes beyond waking, dreaming and sleeping, or all the five senses. So a lot of people come to it because they know there is spiritual growth there as well. And traditionally anything that's spiritual is given away, so we find ourselves a little bit stuck like that.
Okay.
And we're not got the same ethos that the Americans have, and they don't teach that many people in France. We
Okay.
teach more than anybody else in Europe.
Okay, and
So
that might be down to the low pricing. But I mean, if you talk about spirituality, and you mentioned Tony Robbins in a previous conversation we've had, and I mean, he has a very similar spiritual approach whereby he uses NLP, neuro linguistic programming, to help people overcome challenges in their life.
yeah,
And he charges, I think, $3,000 for a weekend seminar to change people's life and influences their life.
I think it's more actually. Yeah,
Well,
no,
I'm just talking about. I'm not sure what the prices are,
yeah,
but they are definitely far higher than what you charge for
yes,
your service.
oh, for sure, yeah. That's the problem. That's the dilemma. I don't think it's something that can be solved in one hit. I think that something will actually happen that will what we're doing here now is shining a light on it,
Okay.
right? We're shining a light on that issue. And that's an issue that's been around for a long, long time in the TM movement in this country. And so any inspiration that you get, I'll be really grateful for. But I like your distinction. I would like to maybe change the wording a little bit, from like business that makes money to self-empowerment, maybe using that word rather than
Well,
just.
the question, if the question I would ask, Will, is very simple. Are you, as a TM teacher, happy with the money that you are generating through your organization?
No.
Okay, so then obviously something needs to change.
Yes.
And would other TM teachers tell me the same? If I would go around and ask the 300 TM teachers in the UK, are
All
you
of them.
happy with the current level of income, or does that need to change?
It needs to change. They'd all say that.
They all say that. So
They would all say that.
So
Yeah.
then obviously there's something that's needed to perhaps look at the situation that is right now, and how can it be changed to something that is empowering you actually to turn that into maybe not calling it a business, but perhaps a lifestyle that allows you to completely give yourself to the TM movement, and therefore, live of it because it creates enough income rather than doing it on the side.
It's fascinating what's coming out of this, because I've just written down that this was the question about, are we worth as much as a barrister, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you go to a barrister, and I used one on the Isle of Wight because of some land issue,
Yeah.
I got this barrister free.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see the juxtaposition of why I chose that word barrister? Because you get legal aid in this country.
Yeah.
If you're in need of it, right? So
Yeah.
that's a validation for the structure that we've already got now. The problem is people are abusing that structure.
Okay.
They're abusing that structure, and essentially they're actually not valuing themselves. I'm talking about the people that come, they see there's a price structure, and we say, well, just tick the box that's appropriate to you. They might tick the box that, oh, I'm a care worker, I only earn 9,000 a year, but her husband might be earning 70,000. So it's we don't do the family income thing yet, but I think that might happen.
So you've just given yourself the answer to that, right? To that dilemma.
Yes, we're working on that particular one right now, that it should be if that's the only income coming into the house, then fair enough. We will teach them at the lowest rate. That is true. We are getting there, but that doesn't mean to say that you're superfluous to these proceedings. And your input is vital, because TM teachers themselves need to feel. Can you read the wording of that again for me? The actual question.
So what you said was, can you add another dimension, motivation and empowerment to TM teachers generally, and have them not just know, but demonstrate in their self-image that they are financially worth as much as a barrister? Okay,
so there's a self-image, yeah. So even though it's the establishment's meditation, and on that level, we are on the level, it's consciousness-based education. I tell people who ask me what I do, oh, I'm a teacher of consciousness-based education. Then I might explain that that's transcendental meditation. But that puts me on the same level as a barrister in a way, because I'm using academic language to describe it. So, but it's the truth.
Maybe not as a barrister, but perhaps as a teacher in the education system. Would you put yourself on the same step as them?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lovely saying in teaching. I don't know whether you have the same in Germany, but it's this: a child's mind is a lamp to be lit, not a vessel to be filled.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's handling consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inspiration, consciousness. People leave you and they're all fired up. They want to get started, get cracking, make the breakthroughs, get themselves a living where they're actually going to work for not just to pay the bills, but to create a new future for themselves.
Yeah.
So the TM teachers tend to struggle. We do tend to struggle. However, a lot of the TM teachers who are working the field have other incomes. There's only a few of us that TM is our only income.
Okay, and do you think that this needs to change?
Well, I can't tell people to give up their second income. No, I think they need to be empowered. The teachers that are full-time on their own, and that's their only income, definitely need more empowerment. Yes. Okay,
and obviously that includes you.
Yes.
So that needs more work. That needs more thinking. That needs a solution.
Yes. Well, part of this is that I would like you to somehow use me as a guinea pig on this. And if the TM movement see a rundown area like the Isle of Wight suddenly being the top amount of initiations, they're going to say, what's all this about? What's changed Will's situation? I'm the teacher for Portsmouth as well, but Portsmouth, I can't be in two places at once, but I'm trying to be, put it this way. So during the lockdown, of course, that hasn't happened. Now we've got Zoom. Actually, I can probably cover both areas very comfortably now. What you said, something needs to change here. Something has to be done. And my feeling for you is that's the most potent question for you to work on, and maybe we'll talk about it later, you know, about the whole idea, the structure of what I said
Yeah,
about seeing that the TM movement, the TM org, the people that run the organization in England and
yeah,
the United Kingdom, to see the sudden transformation in Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight teaching.